We are focused today on taking one of the most common, yet let's face it, most terrifying questions
Oh, yeah.
in professional and social life. Tell me about yourself and really turning it into an absolute superpower for you.
It's the ultimate gatekeeper question, isn't it? Whether it's, an icebreaker at a new job the first day of uni or those critical opening moments of an interview.
Mm-hmm.
This seemingly simple request forces you to instantly kind of define your identity. Our sources found that the anxiety really comes from the pressure to condense your entire history
Right.
into a single compelling narrative, often in under a minute.
Exactly. Our mission in this deep dive is to extract the clearest, most robust, and most actionable communication structures from the research we analyze.
Yeah.
We want to move this question from a source of absolute panic to a moment of genuine confidence for you, the listener. This isn't just a vocabulary lesson, is it? It's strategic communication.
Absolutely. It's about understanding how to deploy the right version of your personal story in the right environment.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here, I think, is that the goal isn't just to talk, it's to selectively communicate. We're basically providing shortcuts to building confidence,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that whatever the situation, you know exactly which template to pull out, which details to prioritize. We're going to start with the foundational template, the one that guarantees you sound organized and professional every time.
Okay, let's unpack this with the classic plan. Our source material consistently identifies this as, well, the gold standard for formal settings. It ensures clarity and professionalism, and it is beautifully simple. Present, past, future.
Or PPF.
The PPF model. It works because it aligns perfectly with the three sort of psychological anchors listeners need to establish trust and understanding.
Okay.
Who are you now? How did you gain the necessary experience? And, where are you going? It gives an immediate, complete narrative arc.
Let's break down the structure piece by piece, because the sequence is everything here, isn't it? You have to start with the present. Why is that so important? Why is it mandatory? Well, the present acts as the immediate anchor. If I just start rambling about my university experience 10 years ago,
Right. Lost.
the listener is left floating, wondering, okay, but who is this person now? Starting with the present provides immediate context. So if you are Sarah, you say, "Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm currently an English teacher at City High School." It's immediate, current, and an unambiguous definition of your primary role right now.
Okay, so we establish a current identity immediately. That sets the stage for relevance. Now we pivot to the past. And the research emphasizes, this cannot be an exhaustive historical record. It has to be relevant.
Precisely. The past section acts as the necessary context that validates your present state. It shows the listener you didn't just sort of stumble into your current role.
You earned it.
You earned it. Exactly. If Sarah is an English teacher, her past focuses on supporting history, education, or key experiences. I studied literature at Central University, where I focused on curriculum design, and prior to teaching, I worked in a public library for 3 years managing their adult education programs. Something like that.
The power there is the relevance filter, isn't it? You're not talking about your summer job making pizzas unless maybe you're applying to manage a pizza place.
Right.
You're talking about the library role because library work involves organization, cataloging information, interacting with diverse communities, all skills essential for teaching.
That relevance filter is, well, it's non-negotiable, especially in professional contexts. If you're speaking in a formal setting, every detail about your past must connect logically to your present objective. And this section should be concise, like no more than 2 strong connected sentences. You're just establishing depth and legitimacy.
Okay. And finally, we finish strong with the future. Why is this critical? Why not just stop after explaining how you got here?
The future component, where you state your goals or aspirations. It's a subtle but really potent communication strategy. It demonstrates forward momentum.
Ah, okay.
Stagnation is kind of the enemy of ambition, right?
Yeah.
When you articulate a future goal, you show the listener that you are a purposeful, planned individual who is always seeking growth.
So Sarah might say something like, looking ahead, I want to create more project-based learning opportunities in my classroom and eventually publish a comprehensive guide on integrating graphic novels into the standard curriculum.
That is a perfect professional future statement.
Mhm.
It's ambitious, specific, and positive. It leaves the listener with a sense of excitement about your trajectory, where you're headed.
Yeah.
If we analyze the PPF as a whole, it succeeds because it's an inherently optimistic and complete narrative. It delivers 3 critical data points: current role, supporting history, and future motivation, really quickly.
Right. So if we were to use that hypothetical example, David, the aspiring software developer, he needs to use PPF to avoid that common trap of just, listing coding languages he knows.
Absolutely. David's PPF would look something like this. Present. I'm David, a front-end developer focused on React frameworks, currently working on optimizing user interface speed. Simple.
Okay.
Past. I transitioned into this field after completing an intensive coding bootcamp, leveraging my previous experience in graphic design to focus heavily on aesthetic and functional interface components. See the link.
Yeah, yeah. Graphic design to front end.
And future. My immediate goal is to master server-side architecture and eventually lead a team dedicated to designing accessible web applications for nonprofit organizations.
Notice how David connects graphic design to front-end development. That's that relevance filter really working. That structural integrity stops the rambling. However, I have to challenge this structure just a little bit. PPF sounds great for formal presentation, but how do we stop it sounding too robotic or, overly rehearsed?
That is an excellent question, and it's exactly why we need to transition now. PBF provides the framework, the skeleton, but the delivery needs flavor, and more importantly, the entire structure needs to change based on who's listening.
Right.
This leads us to the sort of advanced stage of mastering this question, situational shifts.
Okay, let's unpack this, because
Right.
context truly is king, isn't it?
Yep.
If I use my formal, highly structured PPF answer when I'm meeting new people at, say, a barbecue,
Oh, dear.
I'm going to sound intense and potentially, alienating. This is where it gets really interesting, because your answer needs to morph entirely depending on who is asking and why they're asking.
Exactly. Our sources categorize these situational shifts into three crucial scenarios. First, the high-stakes professional context think job interview.
Mm-hmm.
Second, the casual context meeting new people socially. And third, the beginner-safe version, which is great for building confidence.
Okay, let's tackle the high-stakes one first, the professional context. Here, the core principle changes completely. You're not providing an autobiography. You are essentially offering a solution.
This is where that concept of the mini advertisement becomes, well, crucial. In an interview, the interviewer isn't really asking about your life story. They're asking, are you the person who can solve our current organizational pain point?
Right. Why should we hire you?
Exactly. Therefore, your focus must be relentlessly narrow. How are you a perfect fit for this specific job opening?
So the strategy here requires homework. You absolutely must dissect the job description first. What are the, say, 3 core competencies they listed? Leadership, technical skills, client management. What is it?
And you match your answer directly to their needs. If the job description stresses the need for complex database management, you strategically you omit your 2 years in marketing, even if they were really interesting years. Instead, you focus immediately on something like,
I recently completed a project where I managed a SQL database migration for over 5,000 users, successfully reducing reporting time by 30%.
C.
Specific.
You're using specific, measurable achievements there. It's almost like integrating the principle behind the STAR method situation, task, action, result into your opening statement, even if you keep it brief. It's highly focused, short, and strictly positive.
And this brings up a critical challenge, doesn't it? What if your past experience involves, say, a period of unemployment or maybe a high-profile project failure that actually taught you a lot?
Yeah, what then?
The sources really stress that while transparency is important later in the interview process, perhaps, that opening, tell me about yourself, has to maintain a strictly positive vibe.
So we don't complain about the previous boss, definitely not. And we don't dwell on mistakes. We frame setbacks as learning experiences, maybe. But even then, keep that framing brief. Right. For instance, instead of saying, I failed miserably at my last job, you might say something like, I gained significant expertise in risk mitigation through a challenging leadership experience, which directly informs my current, highly cautious approach to project budgeting.
Ah, that's clever reframing.
It's essential. You are selling the refined product, not the messy manufacturing process. The professional context demands an answer that is usually, 60 to 90 seconds maximum, focused entirely on the intersection between your skills and their immediate needs.
Okay, now contrast that sharply with the casual context meeting new people socially. If I start talking about SQL migration at that barbecue.
Yeah, conversation killer right there.
Definitely.
Correct. The goal shifts totally. It goes from demonstrating fit to establishing connection and rapport. You want to be friendly and open, not intense. This is where you prioritize content that bridges social gaps, hobbies, interests, passions, things people can relate to.
You want to share something maybe slightly unexpected. For example, I work in finance, which is, very numbers focused. But outside of work, I actually love playing competitive ultimate frisbee on the weekends.
Yeah. Or I enjoy exploring new city neighborhoods, specifically through the lens of trying obscure coffee recipes. Something relatable, something human.
Exactly.
The content is less formal, and it's designed to invite dialogue. It shows a dimension of humanity beyond just the career path. And this brings us to the crucial flow tip, the real aha moment the sources point out for social settings, making it a two-way street conversation.
Oh, I love this idea, the conversational baton pass. If I just share my hobbies, I'm still kind of lecturing, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But if I share a little and then immediately prompt the other person, I create a dynamic exchange, a real conversation.
That's the difference between just giving a self-summary and having a genuine interaction. You share, then you ask an open-ended question back. I love cooking new recipes, especially fusion dishes. What about you? Do you have any go-to hobbies that help you relax after a tough week? Something like that.
Using an open question, one that can't just be answered with a simple yes or no, that ensures the baton is passed effectively. This technique leverages that psychological principle of reciprocity, doesn't it?
It does. You've shared something personal, maybe a little vulnerable, and now you've given them space to reciprocate, which instantly deepens the potential connection.
Yeah.
And remember, the casual context is all about finding that common ground. The more interesting and accessible the detail you share, the quicker you might find that connection point.
Okay. Finally, let's address the beginner or safe version. This is so crucial for anyone feeling shy, maybe new to a language, or just starting to build their confidence. The goal here is radical simplicity. Reduce that cognitive load.
Exactly. When you're starting out, attempting to remember a perfect PPF or a detailed mini advertisement, it's just overwhelming.
Totally.
The research confirms that complexity increases anxiety. So we keep it short and sweet, aiming simply to speak and feel comfortable doing it.
So the template is minimal. Name, where you are from, and one simple, non-controversial hobby. Like, my name is Sarah. I am from a small town in Idaho. I like to walk my dog in the park. That's it.
That's it. It's easy, it's clear, and it takes the pressure right off. It's an immediate win.
Small wins are key.
It's all about accumulating those small wins. And a wonderful nonverbal communication tip the sources repeatedly highlighted, especially for beginners. Just smile.
Yes. Simple but effective.
A simple, genuine smile shows friendliness and openness. It immediately disarms the situation and signals approachability. It kind of buys you patience and kindness from your listener, too.
That's fantastic advice. Okay, so we have the foundational structure, the PPF, and we have the crucial contextual adjustments, professional versus casual versus safe. So, what does this all mean for execution? How do we actually build that muscle memory and avoid falling into the pits of common errors? Let's move into the confidence toolkit.
Right. Confidence isn't just something you have, it's structured. And the number one tool identified across all sources is deliberate, structured practice. You absolutely must say your prepared answers out loud repeatedly.
That muscle memory is everything, isn't it? The analysis suggests practicing in front of a mirror or even just whispering it to yourself while you're walking around.
Yeah.
The physical act of articulating the words, it solidifies the structure and language far more effectively than just reviewing notes in your head.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And critically, we connect this back to the safe version we just talked about. Start small. If you're struggling, don't attempt the complex PPF for the CEO interview straight away.
No, bad idea.
Aim to deliver your name and one hobby clearly 10 times in a row. Small, successful practices build the foundation you need for those more complex presentations later on.
The mindset is key here, too. Our sources remind us, don't aim for perfection, just aim to speak. The fear of making mistakes often results in silence, which is the only real failure here.
That's so true.
Remember that people are generally interested and usually patient. The mistake itself is just part of the learning curve. It's not some permanent judgment on you.
Exactly. Okay, so moving beyond just competency, how do we shift our introduction from sounding merely correct to sounding genuinely engaging and memorable?
This is where we introduce the fun fact. It's that strategy of adding one small, maybe non-essential, but interesting detail that adds flavor and humanity to your introduction. It lifts you above just the factual noise.
The fun fact serves as a conversational hook and a memory anchor. People remember details that are slightly unexpected or different. If you're just another finance professional, you kind of blend in. But if you're a finance professional who can also professionally juggle three apples, well, you're suddenly memorable and maybe more approachable.
The examples are quite compelling. I can juggle 3 apples, or I love collecting stamps that feature endangered animals, or maybe I once trained a parrot to say the word auditor. The key is that the fact is personal without being overly private or, inappropriate for the setting.
But that leads to a critical consideration, though. We have to apply the context filter to the fun fact, too, right? I
Mm.
mean, does the research address the potential risk of using a fun fact in a highly formal or perhaps culturally sensitive professional environment, where maybe flippancy could be seen as unprofessional?
That's a perfect point. And yes, the analysis suggests that in highly traditional or formal settings, like maybe an initial meeting with a very high-ranking executive, or within cultures that really value strict professional distance, the fun fact needs to be subtle, or perhaps even omitted entirely. If you do use one, it should probably relate tangentially to a positive trait, like discipline or maybe unconventional thinking, rather than pure humor, for example. I am currently learning Mandarin Chinese rather than I can juggle.
So it still needs to serve the purpose of enhancing your professional persona, not undermining it.
Exactly.
In a creative field, juggling might suggest dexterity, multitasking, maybe thinking outside the box. In a very conservative legal field, maybe it just suggests distraction. You always have to apply that appropriateness filter based on the listener. But in a casual or networking environment, the fun fact is a massive advantage.
Definitely. Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive with the crucial list of pitfalls. We've compiled a fast run-through of the 5 mistakes to avoid, which the sources repeatedly highlight as common errors that can really derail even well-structured introductions.
These are simple fixes, honestly, but they dramatically affect how you are perceived. Mistake number 1. Talking too much?
Oh, this is a big one. It's a failure of that relevance filter and the conciseness rule we talked about. Keep it tight. Our research found that attention capacity drops sharply after about 90 seconds.
Yeah, it does.
If you talk for 5 minutes about your entire history, you're basically forcing the listener to mentally check out. It's always better to be short, clear, and invite follow-up questions if they're interested.
Mistake number 2. Not practicing. We've touched on this, but it bears repeating. Lack of rehearsal means your language will be tentative, disorganized, especially when the pressure is on.
Mm-hmm.
If you practice, your answer is stored, ready for automatic retrieval. It frees up your mental energy to actually focus on the person asking the question, making you look much more poised and confident.
Mistake number 3, being too negative. Avoid complaining about yourself, your past jobs, your current challenges. Even if you're just trying to be relatable by venting, the initial introduction is your sales pitch.
It really is.
And a sales pitch has to be appealing, positive, and focused on future value.
Mistake number 4. Too much personal information. TMI. This is crucial for boundaries. Keep your initial introduction general and professional, or friendly, depending on the context. You shouldn't be sharing private health details or financial struggles or highly intimate family relationships with new acquaintances.
Yeah, know the line.
Know the difference between a fun fact, like collecting stamps,
Yeah.
and a private fact that's just not appropriate for that moment.
Right. And finally, mistake number 5, which is maybe the synthesis of all the others, not adjusting the answer. This is the failure to recognize that context is king. A pre-written, detailed PPF answer that you perfected for a CEO interview should never be used on a first date.
Please don't.
And conversely, a quick casual mention of a hobby just won't cut it for a hiring manager. You always have to tailor the story to the situation.
Absolutely. If we connect all this to the bigger picture, mastering the tell me about yourself question is fundamentally about understanding communication as a dialogue, not a monologue. It's structured practice applied through the lens of situational awareness.
And that journey from feeling terrified to feeling confident, it's entirely possible. We can revisit the example the sources provided. The story of Sarah, who we mentioned at the beginning.
Right. When Sarah started, the challenge wasn't just complex language. It was paralyzing shyness. Her initial attempt at self-introduction in a new class was probably labored and brief, maybe just, "My name is Sarah. I'm here to learn."
Very much that beginner-safe version.
Yeah, just getting the words out.
Exactly. But through consistent, structured practice, starting with that safe version, then graduating to the PPF model, and finally learning to apply the context filter, she evolved. The sources report her current introduction is confident and engaging. Something like,
Okay.
I'm Sarah, and I'm deeply passionate about leveraging technology to make education accessible to underserved communities. That focus comes from my background working in remote learning outreach, and I'm aiming to launch my own EdTech venture in the next year. Outside of that intensive work, I try to disconnect by competing in amateur chess tournaments.
Wow, what a difference. It's a complete transformation, isn't it? From avoidance to articulate confidence. She uses the PPF structure, but she incorporates the strategic flavor of a fun fact, chess, for added dimension. It shows that the structures we've discussed here aren't rigid rules. They're more like foundational scaffolding
Yeah, a starting point.
upon which you build your most compelling personal story.
And you can make that shift. The systematic approach, starting with PPF and then adjusting based on context, job, casual, or safe, it makes it entirely achievable. The structures give you the foundation, the practice gives you the flow.
Absolutely. Now, before we close out this deep dive, we spent a lot of time on what to avoid and the importance of the fun fact. This raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider as you kind of synthesize all this information.
Okay, final thought here. When you're crafting your mini advertisement, what is the single most unique skill or fun fact about you? Something perhaps linked to a passion or a hidden talent that you often forget to mention, or maybe actively self-censor,
Yeah, you hold back on.
but which would immediately shift the conversation and make you more memorable.
Identify that one thing. That thing that makes you feel more real and friendly, but which you typically decide is maybe too irrelevant or too silly to share. That's often the gold.
So your homework for today, find that one unique fact, and now go practicing just that one fact out loud with confidence.
Just that one piece.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into mastering the art of the introduction. We really hope you feel equipped to tackle that tricky question next time it comes up.
Practice makes progress, if not perfect. See you next time.